Well, good afternoon, everyone. Most of you are afternoon. If you're on the West Coast, you're just before lunchtime, I guess. But welcome to our quarter three. We're a little behind the schedule of our timeline, but we're only within a week of the quarter three member drop-in for NCATC. And I'm Craig McAtee, the Executive Director and CEO of NCATC, and I want to welcome everybody today. Got a good registration list. Hopefully we'll see most of those folks come in, but we're going to get started. Want to tell you this is all about pillar number one in our four-pillar approach to all that we do with all of you and our strategic partners focused on Industry 4.0. We call it the future of work and smart automation and manufacturing. We've got a really great panel of presentations today. And focusing on everything that is in our newsletter, which if you didn't get it, I'm putting it in the chat right now, a link for that so you can follow along and refer back to it. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce the president of our board, Craig Lamb. Craig is the vice president of corporate and community training at Rowan Cabarrus Community College in North Carolina. And without any delay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Craig. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you much, Craig, and welcome everybody. It's great to see you all here and great to participate in this kind of sharing. You know, the pace of change around the pillar one, which is the future of work and the industry automation, is accelerating daily, and it can sometimes be daunting to try to figure out where to turn next. And one of the things that we want to do as a coalition is make sure that you understand that NCATC is really your source for up-to-date information and networking around how to pull off educating the next generation of technicians for industry, and help you make decisions around things like buildings, like we'll hear about from Richard today, or curriculum, like we'll hear about from Aaron today, and faculty and equipment and all kinds of decisions. But really, we want you to understand that the NCATC is a great network of people who share those concerns and are willing to share their stories and share their best practices. And so equally important to what's happening today with the presentations is the network that's created. So really everyone here on this screen, or everyone who's a member or a member institution, has joined with the understanding that you may give them a call and ask them how they're doing this. So invigorate your networks. Use NCATC as a mechanism for getting to the people and the knowledge that you need to make the decisions to make your programs top notch for your employers and your students. So we're really pleased to be able to be in this position and learn from you as much as you can learn from us. So that's enough about that. And I am happy to introduce the facilitator for today's session, Linda Head. Linda is the get ready, if you're taking notes, get your pencil ready for the longest job title in North America. She is the Senior Associate Vice Chancellor of the Division of External and Employer Relations at Lone Star College in Texas. And so, Linda, take it away. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig. And I'm sure it'll change again. We have a new chancellor, and as all of you know, when your leadership changes, so does the world you work in, right? So I'm sure we'll be moving the puzzle pieces around a little bit, and I have an interesting job. Today, we're very excited to have two experts that are involved in artificial intelligence and all the modern day manufacturing and IT and how it all comes together. It's very exciting. On my notes, I have that we're going to start with Aaron first. So Aaron, I'm going to introduce you for a second. Aaron Sykes. Oh, I guess I should say a little bit about myself since I have the floor. I've been at Lone Star College since 1986, when I started as adjunct faculty. And today my job includes the development of degrees and certificates at Lone Star College. In the AAS, we have 5 applied bachelor degrees, well, 4 finished, and about 54 certificates in Texas. We're in the Houston area in Texas. And I have the privilege of sitting on the NCATC board. I have followed along Craig McAtee and Holly for a number of years, and Craig for many years, and am happy to be part of his team that wants to help all of you share best practices around the country and get more involved in advanced technology. So with that, let's go back to Aaron. Aaron Sykes is the STEM Outreach Coordinator for the National Center for Autonomous Technologies. NCAT is a NSF Advanced Technological Education Center focused on skilled technical workforce development for emerging autonomous technology and adjacent industries. Aaron serves as the president of the Minnesota chapter of the Association of Uncrewed Vehicle Systems. That's a cool name, isn't it? And holds FAA certificates for crewed and uncrewed aircraft. Aaron brings knowledge and experience in building and operating uncrewed vehicles and a nationwide selection of connections in the UAV industry. Pretty cool there, Aaron. So why don't you kick us off, please?
Sure. Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you, Craig Squared, as well, for the chance to speak to everybody today. Like Linda said, my name is Aaron. I do outreach for NCAT, which is National Center for Autonomous Technologies. I'm going to start my 7-minute timer right here to stay in everybody's good graces. And I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see this all right? Linda, can you see this?
You can see it just fine.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So like we talked about, the presentation today really is going to boil around 2 different topics: a brief introduction of what NCAT is as an organization, and then a really exciting project that we were able to take part of called the CASRM project, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So as Linda said, I work for NCAT, National Center for Autonomous Technologies. We're focused on skilled technical workforce for the autonomous technology industry. This includes air, land, and sea-based vehicles. We're based out of Northland Community and Technical College up in Thief River Falls. The NCAT grant itself is really supported by a few different institutions. We're hosted, as I said, at Northland, which is a large UAS maintenance school and a traditional aviation maintenance school. We get a lot of input from St. Cloud State for their 3D virtualization work, as well as Minnesota Transportation Center of Excellence that really covers a lot of really good content when it relates to ground vehicles. On the ground vehicle front, we also partner with CAT, Center for Advanced Automotive Technology out of Macomb College in Michigan. Because all autonomous vehicles talk to space, for the most part, we connect with Geotech based on in Louisville. And then finally, to cover the sea-based content, we work with MATE, which actually just got absorbed by MTS, the Marine Technology Society. So between all the different partners, we have a pretty good overview of Industry 4.0 as it relates to not in a shop, as it relates to, in the wild. Another one thing that we do big through partnerships is we work with the Federal Aviation Administration to create what's called the UAS CTI. The UAS Collegiate Training Initiative is really designed to understand and create a metric of what it means to have a autonomous systems education track. Right now, it can be everything from University of North Dakota flying a $250,000 Scan Eagle to a random community college somewhere flying a $300, Mavic 2. So we work with state and federal organizations to really kind of help bring that forward. NCAT in and of itself, we're kind of founded off of 4 main cornerstones: lead, connect, inspire, and serve. We can go into that in a little more detail, but with limited time, I want to stick to connect and inspire because that's what relates to our project. So what I was brought in here today was talk about a really unique project that we had a chance to take a part of along with the Colorado School of Mines here for the last 2 years. Simply put, we got to go prospecting for gold. On the left-hand side, you'll see how it's been done for a long, long time. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see where it's headed. So this was a project done in conjunction with the Colorado School of Mines, as well as North Dakota Science Community College based out of just south of Fargo. And what you're going to see here is how they were able to, as two-year students, they were able to use a $75,000 drone outfitted with a $300,000 hyperspectral sensor that collected 490 bands of light to try to do gold prospecting from the air. The event itself was actually funded through National Science Foundation, funded through something called the Dear Colleague Letter for a START supplement. Up on the top left, you'll see 21-076 and 23-093. 21 was the first edition of it. They just published 23-093 here back in April. So that's going to be the one moving forward, but because we've been doing this for a little bit, we got ours under 21-076. So the Dear Colleague Letter really is designed to create these career pathway opportunities for two-year students, because it creates a partnership between two NSF programs. The program that we're a part of, ATE, is Advanced Technological Education, and it connects us with folks in the IUCRC, Industry University Cooperative Research Center program. And to be eligible for this, you do need to have a NSF grant, and you do need to have a grant in one of those two topic areas. But the real excitement about this is the fact of what this allows the students to do. So as I said, we got to go prospecting for gold. With the event itself was held during spring break of 2023. We had 3 graduate students from Colorado School of Mines, as well as survey students from NDSCS, 7 of those based in North Dakota. We spent roughly 16 days on site, working in both Arizona as well as Nevada. And during that time, a lot of the work leading up to it was coordinating the project. So we applied for the START supplement along with Colorado School of Mines. And once we received that, we gave subawards, to get all the pieces in place. Like we said, that START supplement was critical in allowing us to have the chance to do this. But the big takeaway from our project this year was that the value that this has created for the two-year students for work skills was really, really interesting. I've had a chance to fly drones for well over a decade, and simply put, we've never had a chance to put something this cool in the air before. And so really the value coming out of this was to create a framework, both taking into account lessons we learned just because it was the first time we'd done something like this, but then also creating a template so that both NCAT and NDSCS, as well as other schools, could take advantage of the work that we did in providing really exciting opportunities for their own students. The benefit to the students is really hard to understate. First and foremost, they were doing leading edge research. The hyperspectral camera that we acquired for this is actually from Norway. There are 2 of them like it in the world, and it draws the electromagnetic spectrum into 490 distinct bands. And the idea behind it is that you can take it and really look for alloys, which are an indicator that there may be gold present. But for the students, the idea of putting something that neat in the air and in that interesting of a location really has some positive implications for, for job skilling and for their applications. Future replication, I understand I'm getting close to time here, so I'll go a little bit quicker. Engaging in the schools, there's 125 of those schools across the UASCTI that we're going to be engaging, as well as going after this to create a streamlined application process. So 2 to 4 teams per year from schools all over the nation that can go through this. Here are some live links that we can send you a little bit the talk about the UICRC, our NSF ATE funding source, the specific grant supplement funding source, as well as the CTI and NCAT itself. So a little bit over time, Linda, but that was a quick overview of what we were able to do with the CASRM project.
It's really Craig and Craig that worry about exact time, not me.
Okay.
It's very fascinating, and we really appreciate your sharing that with us. I have lots of questions, and I'm sure the audience has questions as well. Craig, I'd like permission to go off script and let the audience, while they're thinking about this presentation before Richard begins, if they have any immediate questions that they'd like to ask, that they can pose those. Is anyone in the audience today have something you'd like to ask Aaron right off the bat? Then I will. So something that jumped to me is there is certainly a hierarchy in education and higher ed, right? So the MITs and the Colorado School of Mines are top tier, funded a lot by the Department of Defense in Washington, D.C., doing cool research. I just learned yesterday from someone whose son attends Colorado School of Mines that they don't make you repeat your gen ed. You jump right into your math and science as a freshman. And they are receiving a lot higher education in math and science. So how'd you navigate with a research tier 1 school and those faculty, with the faculty in the community colleges and the students? How did that all work out?
Really well, actually. It was one of the things that we were a little bit, especially when you talk about stratification of culture. It was a little bit nervous heading into it, exactly what these, graduate and PhD students would act like once we got on site. But truthfully, the 3 students that they had out there, one of them was a Fulbright scholar from Iraq. And the other 2 were they had worked actually at the gold mines that we were flying. And so, it was in terms of developed camaraderie and some sort of shared culture, we started off from a very good place just because all those students were good people. But I think one of the big lessons learned from the process was this focus on creating a shared culture, and focusing on the mission at hand. And so by doing that, it was able to take away from, especially these, the 2-year students from North Dakota, the machines that we were around, the places that we were in, we don't have anything like that here in the Midwest. And it was this kind of creating a culture of acceptance, of understood exploration, and the fact that we were all in this to do the same project together.
Sounds really interesting. Thank you. We'll save other questions to the end and give people a chance to think about it. And we'll move on to Richard. And I have known Richard for quite some time. And so I would rather just pick on him instead of giving you his real bio. But he has a great number of years of experience in community colleges. And Dr. Aman has a background in advanced technology center development, leadership in career and technical education programs, and collaboration with industry leaders to shape workforce education. Currently, he holds the position of Interim Executive Director of Workforce Initiatives at the College of Lake County. He previously held the Interim Executive Dean of Education and the Chief Academic Officer roles within the institution. His career journey includes roles such as Career and Technical Education Specialist at the Madison Metropolitan School District, Dean of Business Management, General Studies, and Pre-College at Southwest Technical College, and Associate Dean positions, Business and Healthcare. I always wanted to be a Dean of Healthcare at Milwaukee Area Technical College. In each role, he has demonstrated expertise in student development, administrative management, program management, and community engagement and advocacy. He holds a doctorate of education in leadership studies from West Virginia University and a master's in education from Frostburg State University. Richard is also a very collaborative guy wherever he is, to bring in his community college and ISD partners from around the country. So Richard, I hand it to you.
All right. Well, number one, I didn't realize that my time is going to be taken up by my biography. So I think I have like a minute left here. So
you have 8.
I think, okay. Well, number one, I'm also really flattered, Linda, that you called me an expert, which I think that nobody's ever called me an expert yet. So this is the first day. And an expert is either somebody who lives 2 rivers away, or someone who made the mistake and learned from it, or somebody who learned from other people's mistakes. So I'm a combination of those 3. So today, well, number one, my presentation today is really talking about the article that was in the newsletter. And the article really talks about kind of creating, how do you transition to Industry 4.0? And if you're like other colleges within the country, you don't have unlimited piles of money, right? To navigate to Industry 4.0, and your college may be at the beginning part of that, or you may be you may be closer to implementing a 100% Industry 4.0 strategy for training. But what we did at the College of Lake County is what I'm going to talk about today. The article itself actually was pulled from EdTech magazine, and EdTech is a publication that is part of CDW, which is a large company that provides IT to everybody, basically education, healthcare, et cetera, government. And but what I want to talk about today was kind of how did we utilize creating a building to be able to afford to move to Industry 4.0? I would say that our annual budget for equipment is good, but when we looked to really getting up to where we needed millions of dollars. And typically a school might only have $1 million for capital. Well, we need millions. So one of the ways that we did it is we built the Advanced Technology Centers. And through the Technology Center, we were able to leverage some capital equipment expenditures as part of the building. So we really needed to build a building. And the article, again, I'll put the links in the share or in the chat for you. But we were able to really leverage a major supplier, CDW, to help us build out our infrastructure to get to the point where we could even handle Industry 4.0. I mean, the servers in there can handle 512 pieces of equipment at a time. You need that. And so really the article talks about, how we did that. There's also the other piece of this is CDW also video recorded our president talking about Industry 4.0, which we then leverage as we move out and talk to chambers of commerce and companies within our community. So again, I'm going to put those in the chat for you to look at. The article itself, it really talks about the why. How did we create the why to build a building? And I think, to me at least, that's the first fundamental stepping stone. You have to convince other people that you need an advanced technology center. You know it, right? But part of it is convincing others to why you need it, right? And so part of what we did is we tried to answer that question: why does Lake County need an advanced technology center? And our numbers are going to be different than your numbers, right? But what we were able to do is leverage the need for a new facility and build out our Industry 4.0 capabilities. And the article talks about what we all know. Part of the why is there's a lack of qualified workforce. There's a gap between what the college is putting out as far as a capable workforce and the demand in the industry. We had a lack of space. We had a lack of time to get to the solution. In the state of Illinois, sometimes it takes 20 years to get a building built through the funding system. And we knew we didn't have 20 years. We're going to be on Industry 9.0 or something like that. So we really couldn't wait, right? So we used a speed to launch model, which I hope you can learn from. But one of the things concerning the why, when I first got to the College of Lake County a few years ago, I said, well, what makes us so special, right? So I started to look at the data, right? So I really, you should, if you're going to build a building like this, if you're going to invest in Industry 4.0, you got to understand the why. Well, when we looked at the data, the Lake County, Illinois, was the second largest manufacturing county in the state of Illinois. My jaw almost dropped. I'm like, oh my God, what a great number, right? $48 billion in economic output. Now about 100,000 people work in manufacturing in our county, 1 out of 10, basically. So one of the things I did right away when you're looking at the building is every time I was in front of a group, I would say Lake County is the second largest county in manufacturing, over and over and over again. And all of a sudden I heard the president say it, and then I heard the vice president say it. And guess what? That helped, right? That helped tell the story as to why we need to move to Industry 4.0. So part of what we did is we also tried to think about what are the goals. And again, I know a lot of you already know these, but again, we leveraged the fact that we wanted a state-of-the-art training center with Industry 4.0. We connected those two things together. We also wanted to create a facility that represents and looks and feels like a modern manufacturing facility. That helps you, or that helped us connect with our partners, our industry partners that already have Industry 4.0 technology. It helped us to sell them on utilizing our facility and utilizing our training. And then we also wanted to get rid of the stigma of manufacturing, the fact that it can be dark, dirty, and dangerous, right? Instead of, high tech, high skills, high wage, right? So part of what we did is when we designed our building, we took these goals into place. So as far as state of the art, we knew we needed all the infrastructure, right? We needed the funding for the equipment, incredibly important. So part of this was strategy for getting the funding. The other part strategy was just telling the story to get other funding, right? And get support. So we worked with NCATC. We did a map, which helped us to, again, member assistance program to create a narrative that allowed us to sell the idea to our board of directors, our community, other the companies in the community. So that was very helpful. So we built a large box store, a Lowe's. We bought it in January 2021, and we opened 70,000 square feet in 2022 in August. That's incredibly fast. You can't build a building that fast and get it up and running. But again, we knew we needed to get into the Industry 4.0 very quickly. And this the construction of the facility allowed us to purchase that capital equipment, that Industry 4.0 infrastructure. And I know I'm running out of time. I'll take 2 more minutes here. But this is what we started with, right? A box. No infrastructure, no Industry 4.0 infrastructure. We had to build out the whole thing. So right now we have 70,000 square feet built out of probably almost 200,000 square feet we could utilize in the facility if we wanted to go to the next phase. Because part of this, the building is able to support a second story. So we actually built a second story within the building. So this is our ribbon cutting with all the board of trustees, et cetera, community, very exciting. This is our 27,000 square foot fabrication and welding laboratory, but this is what it looks like. It's modern. People come in, it's bright. They can look inside to see what modern manufacturing looks like. You definitely get a feel for what manufacturing looks like. So we have a lot of events in here, high school students, et cetera. Really, and you can see the Industry 4.0, right in, through the glass. The other part up here is where we have our robots, our welding robots. So again, they can see the Industry 4.0. So again, we constructed the building to continue to sell the building, right? And to continue to sell the concept of Industry 4.0. So this is a chamber event, and I'm right here in the back. But this is our one of our labs that we utilize, where this is our hydraulics and pneumatics lab, or hydraulics and process control laboratory. But again, all of this is hooked up and able to be hooked up through the infrastructure in the school itself. And you can see here some welding robots are way over here, plasma cutters, and our 27,000 square foot lab. And I'm going to leave it at that. So that's how we leveraged the construction of the building to really accelerate ourselves in the ability to get the ability to build out our Industry 4.0 capabilities.
That is fantastic. And that's amazing that you did that in such a short period of time, during a time where everyone was crying over our supply chain and logistics problems in the United States, that you managed to do that. The facility looks like it's been in business for years. It looks like, from seeing the pictures, that you certainly utilize the friends and strategic partners of NCATC. Can you describe for a minute 2 things? One, the map and how that worked, and then secondly, how you worked with vendors. Was vendors part of that, or how you chose that? I recognize some of the equipment and know where that comes from.
Yes. So number one, the first part is the map. For us, at least, you know, if Richard Alman would have said we needed a new advanced technology center, I'm not sure who would have listened, right? I mean, I know a lot, but I don't have the expertise of Craig and NCATC working from a national stage. The map allowed us to really explore nationally what was going on, but then also dive deep into what's happening in Lake County. Because ultimately we get paid by Lake County residents through the tax levy, and we really needed to make sure that we were reacting to local needs. So Craig, it was right before the whole shutdown, the COVID shutdown in March. Literally, he got on a plane and the whole country shut down. So, but before we shut down, what we did do is we brought in, we were able through the map process, bring together a ton of different people that had interest in where Lake County is going, futurists that talked to us about where the county was going, current industries, workforce development partners. So Craig and another consultant basically took all that information and consolidated it into a recommendation to include also where to put the Advanced Technology Center, which was a very valuable thing because, we looked at both our students and our manufacturing and tried to find a space that would be appropriate to serve all the populations we wanted to serve. So that was integral, and it helped, especially with the board of trustees, especially with our board of trustees, to say, this is a validated opinion from a consultant that has national views and national connections, AACC and all of that, to be able to say that we should do this. So it's very helpful. The second part is we have a lot of blue in our building, right? And I know Jason is on here as well. And I want to say that for us, at least, I had a dream, right? We all have dreams. My dream is that we will connect the students from cradle to grave, right? And then part of that is when they're working. And so one of the things that we really appreciate about the model, the model that Jason has put together in his company is you're not buying equipment, right? I mean, that's the first thing. I had to get that out of my head. You're buying a system, right? And an educational system, and it's really curriculum with equipment. And so one of the things that we recently did, one of the programs there is our industrial technology program. And we flipped the classroom. So if you're not doing flipped classroom, I got to tell you, that's so powerful. I was a little skeptical. I'll be honest with you, a little skeptical, because it doesn't make it makes sense, but when you actually see it in practice. So right now we have about 47 students in 1 year. We went from 0 to 47. And we continue, and that doesn't include 24 students that are dual credit students. And what we did is utilizing Amatrol is the students take watch the lectures and they do the work outside of the classroom. And there's assessments and checks. So once they get those checks down, they come into the lab. The lab is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. So they can come, they're assigned a time. So Monday night from 8 to 9 or Monday night from 8 to 10. But they can come anytime during that week. And then they can complete their assignments. So we're still, so basically it's a blended class is really the model we're using, except we're building in some flexibility. And right now we have 100% retention rate from last fall to this fall. Wow. We had 100% retention for our dual credit students. Some of the dual credit students that graduated last year are now in our program. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, that's what you want to hear. That's the system, and that's part of that is really leveraging the curriculum and the equipment through Amatrol, and that partner allowed for accessibility, for adult working students, and then we created a little bit more flexibility on top of that, and it's worked fabulously. I almost get goosebumps because I'm like, this is the way it's supposed to work.
Well, and good. That's awesome. That's awesome.
The other piece, very quickly, we're also working on
10 seconds.
10 seconds. We're also using it for customized training. That's the other piece that we're able to do. And we're able to do that because of the equipment.
That's amazing. So you heard two fantastic stories. We want to hear from you. You can either ask either one of them a question or give us a great example of something that you've done in your organization to help bring up your manufacturing, your transportation, your real partnerships, so that you're addressing modern day automation and 4.0 AI, all that. And does someone want to start? Is there someone that would like to jump off, or do I have to pretend I'm in the room with the mic and stand in front of you? You can't all be so shy.
Well, I've never been accused of being shy, so I will
Okay,
jump in
you're gonna
and-
jump us off? Okay,
and
go
lead
ahead.
the way. And as I've talked to, this even happened a lot at our conference recently in Wichita in September, was that people were thinking about how they could respond to employer demand, like Richard has, for instance, and I think what we learned and what we are practicing is that we have to anticipate employer demand in this market, that we can't wait for our employers to embrace this technology and then tell us that we need to be doing it. We find ourselves in many cases introducing our partners, our employer partners, to this technology. And then that introduces the notion of how to implement it and how to become more efficient and increase their dependence on automation and those kinds of things. But I think one of the things that when Richard, and what reminded me of it was Richard talking about the fact that, well, if he came and told people that they needed an ATC, they wouldn't have believed him. And that is, I can attest to that. The same was true here. But the second part of it is that it's doubtful that any of your employers are going to step forward and say that you need an ATC either. So because they don't recognize it yet. They don't have time to look up and understand that the world is going past them. And so these small and mid-sized manufacturers, who are really the heartbeat of our communities, are needing us to lead the way and embrace this technology early and be the messengers for them to bring this to them. And so often I think we rely on advisory committees and employers to tell us what's next. And I think in this market with this technology, with Aaron's technology as well, I mean, how do we make sure that they're even aware that some of these things exist? And one of the ways to do that is to build and staff and equip an ATC.
Thank you for that. Nathan or Anne, you're my next in line here. Anything to add or examples that you have or questions for either of these presenters?
It was all really interesting information. I don't have any questions at this time, but I do appreciate the information.
Thank you. Nathan, I see your camera's coming on. We're looking at something interesting.
Here we go. Hello, my camera's on. Well, it's great to be here with all of you. As I was with NCATC in September, and I'm with Tallow, and we are a recruiting agency. And it is just so positive and hopeful to see a comprehensive group of people trying to resolve the issues in an industry. And I'm very, very excited about that. I've shot some emails out to everyone. We do have an answer as far as providing talent and shepherding talent. And like you said, Craig, I love that. Anticipate employer demand. And that's what we're all about. And it's just wonderful to see you all working together towards this end goal. So this is great information. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for being here. And we hope you're a partner of ours.
Mhm.
Jeff Kibido, you're on. Is there anything that you'd like to say or add? And it's nice to have you here. Is he really on? He's not going to jump in. Eddie or Gail? Any questions or examples you'd like to give from your own institute, your own organizations?
I mean, I'm Gail Norris with Siemens, and I love that everybody is kind of targeting the same direction finally, and seeing that engagement with advanced manufacturing technology and the sheer need in industry for advanced manufacturing and digitalization is overwhelming to most of our industrial customers. So the more we can give them intelligence and resources to make that real for them, and to Craig's point, those smaller entities that can't really come to a Siemens to do it for them, they need somehow to home grow that and put in what they can put in locally. And you guys are the source of that for a great many of them.
Thank you very much for that insight. I don't know how you keep up with what's changing so rapidly.
We have a lot of webcasts that come out and tell us, if you didn't know.
And it's global, right? So
Yeah.
we're just worried about our local areas where we're delivering the training and keeping up with that. You're looking globally, which is really fascinating. I have Corey or Scott on my right. Corey or Scott, either one have anything you'd like to add, or any questions or suggestions of what our leaders, Craig and Craig, should be looking at as we're working on this in our organization.
Hey, Linda, Corey here, Universal. How you doing? Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing for me that I've been just kind of diving into is, looking at where automation and robotics are going. And I know we've got such a big focus on manufacturing careers, making sure that we kind of guide people into that space. But I also kind of, want to maybe bring up the topic that we're seeing robotics and automation show up in our everyday lives, right? Entry level positions. And though a focus is very heavy at a college level, we really need to start to make an impact at earlier ages and really look at STEM, right? A lot of these positions where automation is showing up, we'll say, Skyline Chili, for those of you who are familiar with Skyline Chili, right? Or White Castles, right? They're moving to Flippy or to some level of robotics to now take on those tasks, right? And we don't expect, young students or even young employees who are just, going to work and going to school at the same time to really stand in front of a cash register unless they know, they've got some understanding of math and currency. Are we expecting them to kind of do the same thing when it comes to automation and robotics, just stand in a kitchen or stand around automation and robotics without having any sort of knowledge or competency of that? So I know it's very important that we look at the current situation we're in, but to keep ourselves out of this, we really need to start going into the younger generations as well and add automation and robotics to those earlier ages.
We all agree, and I know Craig and Craig do. Craig, you might want to comment on that and the work of NCATC at the end. But it is interesting that you use the word STEM, and that we haven't yet in this country realized that workforce in manufacturing is STEM. Whether you're going to be an engineer with a 5 or 6 year degree, or go to the Colorado School of Mines, or MIT, or any of these other places that Aaron, was talking about, or whether you're going to work in the shop in what used to be a job that you could drop out of high school or go right from high school into a shop.
Yeah.
It's all STEM, isn't it? And the equipment that's being used in automation and manufacturing 4.0 takes a little bit more training and knowledge to be able to operate that equipment, because Siemens doesn't want someone walking in off the street and breaking something that cost $1 million for that piece of equipment. So we do need to kind of bring all that together.
Absolutely.
And I just have a quick, on top of that, one of the things about the Advanced Technology Center, you don't have to have an Advanced Technology Center to do what we're doing, but we have a robotics competition, at the ATC, right? So again, trying to get, through just association and being close to something, kind of try to connect these careers to with high schoolers and junior high students. I mean, we'll have Probably by the time we're done this year, several thousand high school and middle school students come through our facility just to kind of break that glass ceiling to, you can't be it unless you see it, right? So part of this is trying to get them to see robots and connect robots with jobs. And so that's part of what we really try to do as well in our school.
And to start in high school dual credit and the PTEX in the 9th grade and even earlier. Yeah, it's doing fantastic.
I would say the other piece of that is, Corey, I know it's really important for industry is critical thinking, right?
Absolutely.
Critical thinking. And it's not just, you can't just do, you have to be able to do and think and change, right? And one of the cool things that we have associated with some of our training equipment is a product called Fault Pro. So they can, I think that there's 600 faults they can put into the system. So students have to figure out why is it not working and fix it. And I think that's the other thing as we're talking about robotics and training students, trying to get students to try to solve problems, right? Because that's how you learn. It's not necessarily sitting in front of a machine.
We have a couple more minutes left. Is there? Oh, I see. Amy, did you want to chime in here? I see your face.
Yeah, I just have a question. There's all sorts of programming going on when it comes to youth, when it comes to employer development, when it comes to recruiting. I'm just curious how some of you have kind of dealt with the capacity within the institution to do all of those things. Because I know we're running up against that a bit. I mean, not even just from the faculty shortage, but just from all the other worker bee shortage, I'll say.
Does anybody else out there have something you want to add to that question? It's a big question.
I've seen schools be, I won't say it's effective yet, I'll say it's promising, to take approaches where you're essentially growing your own. And that is to not necessarily wait for someone to be a 20-year veteran of their industry and then convert them into a faculty member. Take that promising engineering student from your own program and bring them into a fellowship where you will pay for their education and train them to be your next faculty member or lab assistant or, fill in the blank, all the technical jobs that we need filled in. And I think of all the different potential solutions on the spectrum of solutions, that seems to me to be the thing over which we have the most control, and that we can invest in and ask our partners to invest in as well. We're not going to steal your people and make them our next faculty member, but we're going to ask you for money because we create value for you. And we're going to put up a fellowship where we can put this student through and make them our next instructor for your workforce. And I think there's, in the same way that we're trying to create a pipeline for K-12 teachers, I think we can create a pipeline for capable advanced technology instruction.
And I was just going to add as well, from a community college perspective, if your president doesn't believe in it, it's going to be hard for you to support anything. So I think part of this is trying to lead up a little bit and show them the potential. Because I believe me, I've had to fight for positions. It's not a fun thing, right? But getting the support of your upper administration to grow and expand is really important. The second piece that I know I've utilized is grants, because you have a better chance of keeping somebody if they're there, under a grant. You can at least argue that it was effective or not effective. And I know that we've had the opportunity to kind of leverage some positions we've gotten with grants to stay on, to kind of build out some of our capacity, but it had to be proven first. So that's a good use of grants, but there's no such thing, grants have their own challenges to administer as well.
Anyone else want to jump in? Have something you'd love to add?
I mean, what Craig just mentioned, one of the largest school systems outside of Atlanta is short about 200 instructors, teachers this year. And they're looking at exactly that type of program where they're bringing folks in, and over 2 years, they're going to both teach and get their teacher's certificate, if you will, and education, and be funded through the school. But they don't know how else to do it. They've been trying to recruit for a couple of years now, and they're just always short.
Gail, we really need corporations, as people are retiring early and they're not quite ready to retire. We probably need to do a better job. Maybe that's something we can take on at NCATC, of marketing how wonderful it is to give back for the industry you worked in your whole life, to come and teach. It's not where you're going to make all your money, but to come and teach.
What you're missing is that we're hiring them back too.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot
So
of
we're all
competition
competing
for
for the
those
same
early
people.
outs. Yeah.
But we
Yeah,
have really good health benefits. You get that state retirement system.
Well,
Well,
one of
that
the
might be
things that
something to think about.
one of the things that I think I've recognized along the way is that we, and I think it fits into this idea of faculty and staff and just overall development of a program, is that we often do approach these as a technological solution. And so we think about buildings and equipment and those kinds of things. And this is a cultural shift, not just a technological shift. And the notion of bringing along not just our institution, but our industries and our communities. So when Richard's talking about having elementary school students having a robotic competition in his facility, that's helping to feed the culture. That's helping to make sure that people understand the technology and are not afraid of it and aren't concerned with it taking their jobs and those kinds of things. And so I think we also need to address that cultural piece. And part of the cultural piece is the value in being the teacher, is part of being the person who, in the same way that people at some point in history, and hopefully still today, valued K-12 instruction and the values and education that those people brought into our society. And so how do people, if this is an area that the whole community looks on as the leading edge of business in our community, and you have the opportunity to work there, that's a cool thing. That's a good thing. But we have to build that culture, because nobody in our school is saying, maybe someday I could teach here, because it doesn't look like there's a pathway for that.
That's true. And with that, I think we're going to have to give it back to Craig McAtee to close us out. You certainly can reach out to anyone. Aaron and Richard, do you mind putting your contact information in the chat so that people can reach out to you directly? And you can find us through NCATC if you want to reach out directly to any of us. We appreciate you being here. Aaron and Richard, really enjoyed you sharing your information, and we'll look to you to see what you do next. We're very excited about that.
Thank you. Just
with
two
that,
things. For some reason, I'm having a malfunction here. I can't type my information in.
I'll type it in for you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right,
And then
sure.
the other thing I'll just mention is there's some articles in the chat that and a video that you may find helpful.
Thank you. Craig?
Well, closing thoughts are, we have a lot of great strategic partners. Many of them are on today. Corey, thanks for being here. Gail, Jason, et cetera. I know Andrea was here from Lincoln Electric earlier, and a few others, Anne from NOPTI. So, it takes a village. It really does take a village, and all of us in this together. One of the best examples, and I love Craig Lamb's example of growing your own, because I know I've seen that at Lorraine with Amy. They've got some young program managers and instructors there and faculty that are really super sharp, and they assimilate to the new pipeline of students because they're the same look and feel. They're not looking like me and Richard. Oh, sorry, Richard. Anyhow, but there's not a silver bullet. I don't know where I got this term, but there's a silver shotgun approach. And we've got to use all the pieces in the shotgun and make them silver, right? One of them is also leveraging companies like in West Virginia, a spinoff of DuPont called Chemours has promised WVU Parkersburg 5 of their technicians for adjunct faculty throughout the next 2 years. the only thing they're doing is getting WVU Parkersburg to train them on how to train. Because just because you know the stuff doesn't mean that you can actually train in it, right? So there's all these things that we're documenting at NCATC, and we're sharing those with people through our webinars and through our conferences, et cetera. And just keep in touch with us as we move forward, because these are great examples that we talked about today. I want to thank Linda, Richard, and Aaron for your expertise today, and Craig for yours as well, and all of our partners. And I just want to say this has been recorded. It'll be on our website by Monday, so you can look at that. All of our webinars are there, and member drop-ins. And I see a thumbs up from Nathan. Thank you for that. Last thing I'll say is our next and final member drop-in for all of our members is December 14th. It'll be at 2:00 Eastern time again. And we're going to focus on pillar number 2, which is all about what we talked about today at another level: competency-based education, applied learning, and coupled with industry recognized credentials. And Jason, we'd like you to come back and be part of that too, because we know that you've partnered with people like SACA, the Smart Automation Certification Alliance, to make sure that industry connection on certifications and credentials is also an outcome that some industries are looking for, and mapping that and crosswalking that to the curriculum. So
I'd love to be a part of that. And thank you. This is one big takeaway from the fall conference was I'm going to be more connected with NCATC. I didn't realize Richard was going to say all those kind things about us, but our work has just begun. We got to train the next generation of manufacturing technicians, and that's what we're going to do. We're on task to do that, and I'd love to be a part of the next drop-in.
great. And I want to know, when I put the members strategic partner logo link in the chat just a moment ago, if you go there and you look at who's doing great things in mechatronics and Industry 4.0, it is Amatrol. It is also Siemens. It's also Festo. It's SMC, and all 4 and plus of those are members of our organization. They compete in the real world, Jason, right? But when it comes to collaboration on Industry 4.0 and helping all of us do a better job of getting that to the industry needs, as well as the student pipeline and incumbent workers, we're all in this together. And you don't compete, because we actually did a study in 2018 and 19, and you were all part of that. And I put that link there too on our website called Industry 4.0.
Right, the need is great.
We couldn't have done it without you. So that's what I'm saying. So
okay, thank you, Craig.
You bet. With that, I'll just say thank you for everybody's attention today. And any last comments, I'll shut up and just say thank you for all of your help today. Anything else for the good of the order? Linda, Craig?
Nope, thank you. It's fun. We love the collaboration. Go Astros. Bye.
Take care. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you soon.